On this episode of the Red and Gold Report, we're going to be talking about the overtime victory the Chiefs had over the Titans on Sunday night. It was a fun game to watch. Of course, it was. It went in the overtime, but it was a super weird game, too. I mean, before the game, if I would have told you that Mahomes was going to break the all time Kansas City Chiefs record for passing attempts in a game, that he was going to have 446 yards passing, and the defense was going to hold the Titans to 5 passing completions, I doubt you'd think that it was going to take us into overtime to get the W and that we'd only score 20, but that's exactly what happened. So let's start with the positives. Why were the Chiefs able to pull this one out on Sunday night? It's all about Patrick Mahomes, isn't it? Patrick took the team on his shoulders by the end of the game. Was this his best game passing? No, it wasn't. But without him, Chiefs wouldn't have had a chance. With his offensive tackles struggling to pass protect for him, with his running game completely ineffective, and with his wide receivers not creating a ton of consistent separation, it was Patrick's legs that really won the game. Mahomes led the team with 63 yards of rushing, but it wasn't just the yards, it was the timing. The Chiefs' late fourth quarter touchdown drive to tie the game was only made possible by that long Mahomes scramble. Then it was followed up with another Mahomes run for the 2-point conversion. Patrick just plain found a way to win this one. He just plain found a way to win. Who else played well on offense? Well, center Creed Humphrey played well, holding the great defensive tackle for the Titans, Jeffrey Simmons, to 0 sacks, 0 tackles for loss. Tight end Noah Gray didn't get in on a ton of plays, but man, that amazing bobbled catch at the end of the game, it had to happen. It was just incredible. Mecole Hardman, it's noteworthy to let you know that, hey, this is another touchdown week for him. He now has 5 touchdowns over the last 3 weeks. On the other side of the equation, moving over to defense, the Chiefs defense was able to hold the Titans to only 17 points and only 57 yards of passing. That's excellent. Now, was a lot of that due to the Titans having a very young quarterback and, well, their receivers pretty much playing horrifically, and then their coaches just inexplicably failing to keep feeding King Henry in the second half? Well, obviously that had something to do with it, but I've got to give it to our young cornerbacks. They played really well, really tight in coverage all night long. With Rashad Fenton being traded away, did you realize that 3 of our top 4 corners are now rookies? All 3, McDuffie, Watson, Williams, had great games. And then, of course, our top corner, L'Jarius Sneed, he had a great night, tackling, as he often does. And he also defended 2 passes, including a great pass breakup on a long pass in the fourth quarter. I think he continues to have a Pro Bowl type of season this year. And while the rushing defense really struggled in the first half, it really struggled. I mean, the tackling by our Kansas City Chiefs defense in the first half was more like they were playing two-hand touch than tackle football. But you know what? They did shore things up by the second half. They really did. They allowed only 3 points between the third and fourth quarter and the overtime. Only 3 points during those. And you know, that was led by the defensive line getting better as the game went along. Defensive tackle Kalen Saunders, that's a great example. He looked good, especially late in the game. He led the entire team in tackles, and during that final overtime drive, well, he kind of took it over a little bit. I mean, he had a tackle at the line of scrimmage on the first down and an effort sack on the second down. So that was a great drive for him in particular. And yes, Chris Jones started slow, but he did end the game with 4 pressures and a sack. And defensive end Carlos Dunlap, it was one of his better games so far as a Kansas City Chief, again, particularly in the latter stages of the game. I also want to mention special teams. I just thought, Bush and Kemp were excellent covering punts and kicks. And that's all why we won this game. A gutsy game by Mahomes, a good second half by the defense, and we were able to pull it off in overtime. And you know what? Any win's a W. Any win is a W in the column, so we will take it. And hey, real quick, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel for the best Chiefs insights on the interwebs. But here's the thing. I have to admit, this was a weird game and it was not a pretty win, was it? In fact, there are some things coming out of this game that any Kansas City Chiefs fan is going to be pretty concerned about because, well, we've seen them pop up week in and week out now. So we do have to ask, how did our Chiefs only put up 20 points, only 17 in regulation? Well, I think it's two main factors working against each other to create major issues for the offense. First, yet again, the running game was a mess. Get this. Chiefs running backs only had 14 yards on 12 carries. Yeah, that's an abysmal average of under 1.2 yards of rushing per carry. Oh man, it was rough. This led to the coaches just giving up on the running game almost immediately. Now, I don't think they should have done this. I think what you do is you go, no, we're just going to keep running the ball and eventually it'll break open, right? And we'll find out how we're going to figure this out and who's the hot hand and all that. But they gave up on the run really early. I mean, by the end of the game, the Chiefs had thrown the ball 68 times. And if you're wondering, that is the most passing attempts by a quarterback in franchise history in a single game ever. And it's not even close for the Chiefs franchise history. Like Mahomes now has the game with the most passing attempts. With just 3 more passing attempts on the night, Mahomes would have broken the all-time NFL pass attempt record. The all-time record is 70, set by Drew Bledsoe in 1994, and Mahomes had 68. I mean, 85% of the plays, over 85% of the plays were passing. We're passes. That is not what any team wants to do. And it all started with a really bad running attack and with the coaches giving up on it too soon. So that was the first problem for the offense. But the second factor was poor offensive tackle play. Right tackle Andrew Wiley, he wasn't awful, but don't listen to the announcer Collinsworth. He had a not so good of a game, right? He had multiple penalties, multiple pressures. But left tackle Orlando Brown really struggled. By my count, he gave up 5 pressures, 2 sacks. I was watching the game with an old friend of mine who was an offensive line coach back in the day, and he told me, yeah, Brown, not impressed. His feet are a mess. And, well, the word my friend used was he plays lazy, and I would agree. He's already given up more quarterback pressures through 8 games of this year than he did in his entire last season with Baltimore, and he has become a problem that is affecting the rest of the offense. Now, these two problems are a bad combination. This is how an amazing offense ends up only scoring 17 in regulation, because an ineffective run game meant that the Titans defense could focus entirely on the passing game, dropping more players in coverage and letting their pass rushers just pin their ears back and get to the quarterback. But when you pair that with poor offensive tackle play, well, it also meant that the Titans didn't need to mix in blitzes because they were getting constant pressure without them. So this combination of issues, a bad running game and bad offensive tackle play, allowed the Titans defense to drop plenty of players into coverage, but also keep having pressure at the same time. And that is a bad combo. And it just made things feel difficult all night. Going forward, here's a few solutions. One would be to use more screen passes. You're not going to get new offensive tackles at this point in the season, right? That's not going to just get magically fixed. Probably not going to get a new running back at this point in the season. It's not going to get magically fixed. So you got to scheme for it. One new solution might be to use a lot of screen passes. If you cannot get the running game going, screens slow down the pass rushers and they get the ball in your running back's hands in space and get them more confident. Similarly, a few draw plays would accomplish both of those things as well, and using wide receivers like Hardman, Tooney, Moore. I mean, we've got some guys that are good with the ball in their hand. If you use them on ends around, jet sweeps, it could help getting the running game going there too. And with those struggles in mind, we of course have to mention Harrison Butker. I mean, the Chiefs kicker, he missed 2 field goals. He missed an extra point, and then he missed a third quarter field goal that should have been easy. And without those easy misses, the game would not only have not had to go into overtime, it would have been over at the 2-minute warning. It just, you can't miss 2 kicks on the same night. Like, you just can't do that. So, yeah, there were some real issues during this game, but thing is, it's still a win, right? And a win is a win. A win still goes in the W column. And you know what? We get to play the Jaguars next week. We should get another W then. So all should be just fine in Chiefs Kingdom. We should be able to keep racking up these wins. We should be able to stay atop of this AFC West. But what do you think? Was the overtime win fun for you to watch, or did it kind of give you a heart attack? What do you think was up with our offense? What do you think's going on with some of these issues that we have over there on offense? Do you think our good defensive performance was more about the defense showing up for the Chiefs or the Titans passing game not showing up? And what are you looking forward to in this game against Jacksonville? Leave me your comments in the comment section below. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and go Chiefs!